Welcome everyone to the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival 2021 Q&As. I'm your host for this session, Julian Neves. I want to thank everyone so much for joining us. This year, our full program is going to be screened online from September the 22nd to the 28th. And we also have a new media exhibition. It's available online and in person at Grandison Lab, Belmont. Today, Saturday 25th, is the last day. So check it out. It's on from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So plenty of time. You can still go and check that out. And for today's session, you can feel free to comment and ask any questions to our filmmakers here, and we'll try to answer them during the session. And of course, don't forget, you can check out all of their films. It's at watch.eventive.org/TTFF21. We'd also like to thank all of our TTF21 sponsors and partners. We couldn't do it without you. NGC is our signature sponsor this year, and we have leading sponsorship from Shell Trinidad and Tobago and also Republic Bank Limited. And we also have contributing and supporting sponsorship from NLCB and the Sport and Culture Fund. And today I have with me three directors. We have Oliver Hill. He's the director of the documentary Born to Be Great. It's about the Citizen Security and Justice Program in Jamaica. How are you doing, Oliver? Can you hear me, Oliver?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Okay,
I'm grateful. Can't complain.
no problem. You also have Vonley Smith. He's the director of the Barbadian comedy short Murphy's Law. Vonley, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you for having me, and bless it to everybody, all the filmmakers and everybody on your live. Bless
No
up.
problem. And last but definitely not least, we have Ian Harnarine. He's the director of the documentary Party Done. It's about the Trinidad and Tobago crime news program, Crime Watch, starring Mr. Ian Allen. Ian, how are you doing?
I'm great, Julian. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Glad to have you guys here. All right. I usually like to start at the beginning. So kind of the origins where the projects came up, inspiration and so forth. So Oliver, Born to Be Great. How did that start up? What was the origin of that?
So, Born to Be Great is about a program that ran for about 20 years between the year 2000 and 2020. And essentially, it was an intervention led by the IDB, whereby they were piloting some different social intervention programs that would get at the root cause of crime and violence in Jamaica. So it was essentially what we tried to do is at the end of that program, as it came to a close, we tried to capture some of the representative stories of some of these beneficiaries of the program to kind of, in a visual way, weigh in on the debate of whether these social intervention programs are actually effective and a good use of development funds, and how they might fit in with kind of the hard policing that is also a response to the epidemic that we face in countries like Jamaica and unfortunately Trinidad and Tobago too.
Thank you so much, Oliver. And Vonley, I know it was for the 48-hour challenge, but tell me the inspiration for the story Murphy's Law itself. Did you have a bad experience with an actor? It's like, hey, let me write something about it. Tell me about that.
Well, Murphy's Law was just really about filming our own experience on the 48-hour film challenge, as you said. That was really just the inspiration, and so we, the crew, it kind of like see it as like a mockumentary. It's just following us, but we were just very conscious of controlling the narrative, of kind of bringing this story to life. We were given like five or four things that we had to have in the short.
Yeah.
There's the sunglasses. The actor had to say a particular line. It was a cart road. I don't know if you guys know what a cart road is. It's like a small little unpaved road. We had to include these different elements within the film. And yeah, we just went out there and just had fun.
Okay. I think in Trinidad we call them dirt roads.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dirt roads. Yeah, man.
All right. And now on to Ian. Ian. Tell me, did Ian call you up and say, hey, I want a Crime Watch documentary? How did everything happen?
No, so back in 2008, my grandfather was murdered actually in a small town in Trinidad, in Tabaquite, where, you know, if you're from Trinidad, you'll know where Tabaquite is, but
Yeah.
you know, it's kind of in the geographical center of the island. And when we, and you know, he wasn't a life of crime or anything like that. He was a World War II veteran. He was a pensioner, and he lived by himself. Unfortunately, because of those things, perhaps he was a victim of of what appears to be a home invasion that ended up in his murder. And you know, when we all went down to Trinidad for his funeral and whatnot, we found that it seemed as if the police were either inundated with a whole bunch of other crimes they had to deal with, or they just didn't care, or they just didn't have um, the resources available for them to really put towards solving this crime.
Okay.
And you know, I put up the statistic at the beginning of my film that the vast majority of murders in Trinidad go unsolved. I think it's over 80% of them are still unsolved. And my family and so many other families in Trinidad don't have any form of justice or sense of justice, I would say, when it comes to these crimes. And that was back in 2008 when, you know, as you recall, Julian, this is when things really started to ramp up in Trinidad with respect to murders and kidnappings and all of these things. And you know, that's when I started to really become paying attention to the crime situation in Trinidad. And as time went on, I found out about this guy named Ian Allen that was taking a different approach to solving crimes and to figuring things out down there.
All right, no problem. Okay, and Oliver, back to you. We're highlighting this program. We're, you know, seeing all respondents and people's lives change. What are you hoping somebody who watches Born to Great will come out from it with?
Essentially, that there needs to be a balance between heavy policing and addressing the root causes of crime and violence. I mean, there's no getting around the fact that idle hands make the devil's work. And, people need education. And unfortunately, that message has taken a back seat, seemingly. And, when you're trying to resolve, issues of domestic violence, just the propensity of young people to gravitate towards gangs and dons as kind of their safety net, you need to provide an alternative. So, I'm hoping that people who watch Born to Be Great can together, form a consensus around the need for these programs and really demand that government institutions lend the support that's necessary to level the playing field, because this is a challenge that we face in most islands of the Caribbean, and it's not going to go away unless we have a more equal society where people have, guaranteed access to basic services like education and healthcare. And again, that message cannot be reinforced enough. And I hope people come away convinced that, giving a young person a scholarship to finish, high school and go to college, that to me, that could never be a waste of public resources or development bank resources. And certainly these programs change lives. And that's really what we need to be thinking about, is changing lives one at a time, and giving people the support, from the time they are born until the time that they kind of graduate to become a productive member of society. Because if the family unit isn't there to ensure that, they need something they can fall back on. Otherwise, you're never going to address these problems.
And Vonley, on to you. I'm interested in the process of it, with the challenge with the filming. How was it with all the restrictions and the short time? What was the experience of filming?
Well, first, I just want to shout out Jason Russell, who was the cinematographer and the actor, and also Dibby, who also played Badman Dan in the film.
Yes. Colorful Badman Dan.
But yeah, shout out to Badman Dan for real. Yeah, the process, honestly, doing a film on Murphy's Law, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. I would say it was it was very challenging on top of filming a film in 48 hours, because you were conscious of it. You were conscious, okay, well, it's kind of like, okay, what will go wrong? And if something goes wrong, we could have potentially used that within the narrative of what we were trying to say in the film. And things did go wrong. It rained. We think something that happened with the gas. It was just a lot of different things. But for the most part, we were just trying to control or even just flow more with the whole Murphy's Law, because things was just happening all around us. We live on an island, suddenly weather changes at a whim, so but yeah, it's just getting the film on time was a rush. I think that was it. Rendering it out was, and then transport, like where it was in town, I think that last dash was really what we were trying to think. But we didn't win the competition, which is, I would blame it on Murphy's Law again. But yeah, but it was so good, really good experience. It was a lot of fun. I think, like, when you're doing films and challenges like this, you want to kind of go into it with an open mind, and also have a lot of fun, because it can be really, really stressful creating films, documentaries. I'm sure the other filmmakers can testify to it as well.
Definitely. And Ian, I've seen quite a few episodes of Crime Watch, quite a popular show. Tell me, what was it like being with Ian Allen and going on these scenes and seeing the inner workings, of the show? How was that experience?
It's terrifying. It really, really is. So, I have to give, Ian Allen credit. He gave us full reign. He was, he said, film whatever you want. Nothing's off limits at all. And he was very welcoming to me and the crew. And he would call me up at 2:00 in the morning and say, okay, we're going for somebody, let's go. And perhaps I was a little bit naive in terms of what that actually meant, because we'd show up and he'd be in his vest, his camera people would be in a vest, all the cops are there in a vest, and me and my cinematographer were there with the camera and a microphone, completely unprepared for what was happening. Yeah. I mean, and when I look back, I probably should have got those. But it's a really unpredictable situation, and it's very scary. And if he's dealing with that constantly all the time, where there's a real threat that things could go wrong, and you actually don't know what's going to happen at all in those situations. So it's terrifying. It's a really, really terrifying situation.
Definitely. Okay, and final round of questions. Oliver, tell me, what has been the response to the film? Oh, I think we might have lost Oliver. We might be able to get him back. All right, Vonley, we could jump to you, and we probably back to Oliver when he comes back.
Well, this response has been really.
Oliver, you're back. Welcome back, Oliver. Go ahead.
Hi. Yeah. So I was saying that the response has been great. I feel like we've gotten a lot of traction, and from the beneficiaries who were in it to some of the people on a more policy level and bureaucratic level, there's certainly been a response, positive response in that I do believe we've presented, compelling evidence that these programs really help people out of desperate situations and give them some tools whereby they can earn a living in a dignified way and get educated. And that's like I said, really important. So I'm really happy to have seen such a response.
Definitely. And Vonley, what's been the response to Murphy's Law?
Yeah, a lot of laughs. We've had a lot. We screened it here twice in the movies and everything. People are laughing. It's just a lot of. They just really enjoy just the journey that we went through, all the hardships. But I just feel like it's a very relatable film to anybody who's looking to do a project, do anything, and is just faced with those challenges, but never giving up, never pushing forward, never stop pushing forward, So it's just been one of those films, a lot of laughs and a lot of people like, well, yeah, I could kind of relate to that, boy. Like, yeah, I felt that pain when the rendering crashed. I felt that as an editor, Yeah, so.
Well, what some of those laughs were mine, so you can add that to the kids.
Okay. Yeah.
And finally, Ian, what has been the response to Party Done?
Well, the film's just sort of now just getting out into the world, so not a lot of people have seen it, which is great. But from audiences that I've been able to speak with, they're fascinated, I think, by Ian Allen. If they didn't know who he was before, some people, of course, know who he is, and he's a very polarizing figure in Trinidad. And some people really love Ian Allen, what he's trying to do. Some people think he's a problem, and actually part of the bigger problem in Trinidad. Some people may say that as well. But I don't think this film was ever trying, or my intention with the film was ever trying to, have a solution to crime in Trinidad, because these are much bigger issues than I think my film can tackle. What I was interested in, just a character study of Ian Allen. And I think people really relate to that because they see a different side of him. And I don't think anyone could disagree that his sincerity in really trying to affect change in Trinidad. And I think people really relate to that and really respond to that, is to see somebody trying to affect change in a really sincere way.
Definitely. All right, gentlemen, we've come to a close. We'd like to thank our director so much. And we also like to thank you guys so much for joining us for this Q&A. And don't forget, you can still catch all of these great films: Born to be Great, Murphy's Law, and of course Party Done. They're all available screening today. And also check out ttfilmfestival.com website. You can find all the information on how to buy tickets, and you can also check out all the upcoming films as well. We have a lot of great stuff for this year, so don't miss out. All right, gentlemen, thanks again. Oliver, Vonley, and Ian, congrats on the film, and congrats on being part of the festival.
Great.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Good to see you again, Julian.
Good to see you again too, Ian.
Bye.
All the best, gentlemen.